and to work for peace and justice through nonviolence. They all laughed at me and they left, but and later the governor, Bill Richardson, told me that he was appalled by it, and he spoke to the head of the National Guard and threatened to fire the whole top echelon if they ever came close to doing anything like that again. So
you were kicked out of a church?
Yeah, for speaking against the Iraq War. I had 5 parishes, 4 of them very poor, and one a kind of a middle upper class parish of retired military families near a ski resort. And the war was starting, and naturally I'm saying, hey, you cannot be a Christian and claim to follow the nonviolent Jesus who said love your enemies and support the bombing of children in Iraq or nuclear weapons or the whole culture of war. Well, they were appalled and kicked me out. And I think that should be the future of every Christian minister, priest, and bishop getting kicked out for speaking out against war and nuclear weapons, so that all the churches become communities of nonviolence, which is what the gospel of Jesus was about. And so that was, a very hard experience, but a good experience, and it needs to happen more and more, that we get church people to return to the heart of, I think, nonviolence at the heart of every religion, and be instruments of peace in this country.
Your assessment of President Obama, who said he will end the war in Iraq and expand the war in Afghanistan?
Well, I'm very disappointed. I want him to end the war in Iraq today and bring back all the troops and pursue nonviolent alternatives and pursue a kind of global Marshall Plan to rebuild Iraq through food and aid. And war doesn't work. And he's continuing the same old legacy of war by bombing Afghanistan and Pakistan. So that's why, actually Archbishop Tutu and I tried to meet with him, and we were going to say this to him, and a meeting almost happened a few weeks ago, and then it was abruptly canceled.
What happened? You were in Washington?
No, we were working with the White House, and they told us it was going to happen, but it just was canceled. And maybe it's because Obama's not meeting with anybody, which is a real shame. He's refusing to meet with Tutu, who was going to speak specially on this question of Afghanistan and Pakistan, and saying, war doesn't work there, and we're just going to continue to breed more terrorism. But I think he was threatened by what we were going to say, and he's not listening to other voices there. So that's why I went to Creech, and that's why I'm saying we have to continue to put pressure on the Obama administration through the movement and say, don't bomb Afghanistan, Pakistan, and so forth and so on.
When we were in San Francisco just a few days ago, we had Father Louis Vitale on, who was also arrested at Creech. Explain why you went there.
Well, learning from your show, and like everybody in the country, that this is the future of war, along with nuclear weapons still existing, but that we have developed these unmanned bombers that are trained out of Creech in Nevada, that are then used to fly permanently over Pakistan, Afghanistan, as well as Iraq, and bombing hundreds of civilians. And ours was the first demonstration ever there, and the first civil disobedience, as far as I can tell. And so we walked onto the base trying to say, no, we shouldn't have these weapons, we shouldn't have drones, we shouldn't be bombing the children of Afghanistan and Pakistan, and we were trying to take our message there. And then we're going to have a trial probably later this summer or in the fall, and we're going to take our message into the court.
Father John Deere, you have been arrested more than 75 times in this last minute and a half. A few of those protests that are most memorable for you, that had the most meaning?
Well, they're all meaningful and they're all scary, especially the Plowshares Disarmament Action for me in 1993 with Philip Berrigan, when we hammered on an F-15 nuclear fighter bomber, for which I faced 20 years in prison.
Where?
In North Carolina, at the Seymour Johnson Air Force Base, as part of the Plowshares movement. But my experience with that is that if you look at the abolitionists, the suffragists, the labor movement, civil rights movement, in the end, the change always happens when good people break bad laws and accept the consequences. That some people actually have to engage the law through the grassroots movements of nonviolence. And so that's why I'm trying to continue this tradition with our friends of Gandhi and King, of using the weapon of civil disobedience to get into the courts and say, war is illegal, nuclear weapons are illegal, and our future is a future of nonviolence. And so some of us are continuing that tradition.
You worked in Salvador under the Jesuit priests who were killed.
Yes. That was in 1985, and I write about it in my book, and it was really at the height of the Civil War there, and a terrible experience. And these guys, the 6 Jesuits who were killed 20 years ago this fall, were spectacular people and assassinated for pointedly demanding their government end war. And it was a powerful experience to have known and worked with these great martyrs of justice and peace. And I'm trying to apply what I learned from them here in the United States, and that means speaking out publicly, all of us, for an end to war, and the end of war itself, and poverty and nuclear weapons, and the working of a new culture of nonviolence.
Father John Deere, I want to thank you very much for being with us here in Albuquerque. His new book is called A Persistent Peace, One Man's Struggle for a Nonviolent World. And that does it for today's program. If you'd like to get a copy, you can go to our website, democracynow.org. You can help us grow our audience by going to our website and posting stories to your favorite social networking sites like Facebook and Dig and Slashdot. You can also follow Democracy Now! On Twitter to get our latest updates, and go to our website to follow the tour at democracynow.org. Tonight we'll be in Spokane, Washington, with a benefit for KYRS Low Power FM Thin Air Radio. Democracy Now! Produced by Mike Berkshire, Hope Nicole Salazar. I'm Amy Goodman. Thanks so much for joining us.